by the time your debut went? What was that moment where he's like, you know what? I'm leaving it all behind. I have nothing to lose. Let's just do this debut.
I think it was when I dropped out of college, actually.
Okay.
Because Rudy Boy, he pulled me aside and he was all like, hey, your debut's coming up, really start getting ready, like you've really been picking it up. Because I debuted within 3 months of training, and that doesn't really happen a lot from what I hear. And so whenever he told me that, I was like, dang, like 3 months of training and he thinks I'm ready for my debut. That's kind of crazy. I think I got something going on here. And so after a very long talk with some of my peers, with some of my closest friends, I decided to make the tough decision to drop out of college to focus on wrestling. And I remember walking out of film school with my college resignation form, which I still have in my box of memories. I remember
it's a poster somewhere.
It'll get framed one day. But I remember walking out with that paper like, all right, like you're all in now, man. Really, let's put my foot on that pedal and not let up. And here we are.
We're back to our regular recording because last week we had a nice long series with Reality of Wrestling. And our first guest coming back through our regularly scheduled programming, we have Pac Ortega here in the monitor. How are you?
Yes, sir. The one and only. I'm doing good, baby. How are you doing?
This episode is not Big Drip only at this point, so we'll hit the ground running. Where did that come from, by the way?
What, Big Drip only?
Yeah.
Well, so I've been told it doesn't translate, but I love to go out and live a nightlife. I'm super big about that, man. And so Big Drip only really is the personification of what a fast life is like, along with finesse. The saying itself, though, I got it from the song, because my favorite artist is Jaden Smith.
Oh.
And like he used to he went through like a psychotic breakdown a couple years back, and he just used to like shout out Big Drip. Can I curse?
What's that?
Can I curse?
Oh yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. He used to shout out Big Drip shit only. And so I heard that.
Okay.
And so I heard that. I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. Let me take out the shit part. Besides that, the Big Drip only, I just use that to really just describe my life. Everything just drip, but Big Drip at that. So yeah.
And it's just like the fast life too. And
the fast life,
you're exactly, and you're just living that. You're living that moment, that at that time, whenever you're at.
Exactly, man. I'm super big about like being in the present and really saying yes to everything that excites me. So
yeah, and we're going to talk about why you said yes to being trained under Rudy Boy Gonzalez, with Rodney Mack, with Jazz, and with Thunder Rosa. What makes each of those guys special to how you're honing your craft as a wrestler?
I was very fortunate to have good minds about the business as my first coaches in this insane business that I've become a part of. I know every trainer has something different to offer. And with Rudy Boy, of course, he taught me everything, like when it comes like the basics of the basics. That's where I first started out. And I think if there's one thing that, besides, just the basics of what I do, one thing that I really took away from him more than anything else is he used to have this one saying a lot. I don't know if he said, I don't really talk to him these days, but he used to say this one saying a lot that's always stuck with me, which is put your foot on the pedal and don't let up. I don't know if he got that from somewhere. He's to this day the only person I've ever heard say that. So just every single day at training, he would always find a way to throw that in there somehow. Just put your foot on the pedal and don't let up. With Rodney Mack, Jazz, as well as Thunder, I think they all taught me more. They took what I had with the basics and put a good punctuation on it, really allowing me to continue growing, not only as a wrestler beyond the basics, but also making what I do, crispy with it, a little more aggressive with it. You know what I mean? Kind of add in a little more confidence to it, because Rudy Boy was great with teaching me the basics and the foundations of it all, but Rodney Mack and Jazz, as well as Thunder Rosa, really offered me more advanced training. So yeah, man, definitely super grateful for all of those people for really creating such a great foundation for me in the beginning of this insane journey I've been on.
What was like the most constant feedback that you got from all of them, and which one of those guys' advice stuck stuck to you as you go along on your wrestling journey?
Sure, that's a good question. I'd probably say the best advice that I've ever received from any of them is to just not be afraid to fail. Because if like all my close friends can tell you, I'm super, I can get I can get extremely self-conscious sometimes of myself, of my performance. And I feel like that comes naturally with the business, but like me in particular, even before I became a wrestler, I've always been, super self-conscious of myself, of how I conduct myself, of how I behave. And really, they've all been able to see that at one point in time and to simply just tell me, like, hey, so calm down. You're doing good. Stop being so, like, what are you nervous for? Stop being so shy. Stop being scared to fail. If you fail, that's okay. It's a part of life. But every single time you fail, you just, not only do you learn, but you make room for something else as well. So definitely, if there's like one constant thing that they've all collectively took a part in helping me with, it's just my confidence.
Right. And how did that finally, when did that finally come to fruition with the advice that you have?
Um, that finally came to fruition whenever I'd say I won my first championship belt. That was in 2023 for Loco Wrestling. I was the inaugural Loco Wrestling Fire Daddy champion. Because up until that point, I was just kind of, I don't want to say dead in the water, but I was just kind of like, where am I going? Do I even have a place here? Do I belong on the stages that I want to be on? And Local Wrestling looked at me and they said, yes, you do. We want to do this. We want to give this to you. You've worked hard. We see you've worked hard. So here, let's take this belt and let's run it with you. We want to see what you can do and how you can represent us. So I always give Local Wrestling for their flowers on that. And just whenever I was driving home with the belt, I just remember thinking to myself, like, you know what? Like, yeah, I am meant to be here. This is what I'm meant to be doing. And this title only represents that. And then shortly after that, me and Texas Wrestling Cartel started doing business. Me and Inspire, me and RCW, me and New Texas. So really, that's whenever I just really just it all came to fruition. I just said.
Because it's interesting because like whenever I hear someone saying you, it's like you see the hard work that you're putting through, and that can take a long time. And you started in 2019, so like it took 3 years of trying and failing until local wrestling approached you and saying, "Hey, all right, I'll give you this belt. Let's go do what we can do in that time that you have with the Fire Daddy Championship."
1,000%, 1,000.
Because it's interesting. Because now we're gonna go back from we talked about the championship. Let's go all the way back. What
Okay,
was
okay.
your debut like?
My debut, I'll never forget it. I don't think we ever forget it.
It better be good.
It wasn't bad. Let me say
Okay, all
that.
right, okay.
It wasn't
We'll roll with
bad,
it. We'll roll with it.
but it wasn't a banger. My debut, yeah, it was July 22nd, Crystal City, Texas, for Rudy Boy's Texas Wrestling Entertainment, and it was a TWA trial match. And he's the guy I debuted with. He's no longer in the business, but we were great friends, and that was a culmination. That night was a culmination of even before I started training. Because I mean, before we start training, we all have our little stories of how we discovered wrestling, how we wanted to get into it. It was a culmination of like middle school pop constantly being told like, "Hey, that's unrealistic," or like, "Hey, maybe you should think about something else." And as I continue to get older, like, "Hey, like, why don't you think about college?" Or, why don't you do something that's going to be just a little bit more linear for you? So that whole entire night, my debut was just a culmination of me taking everything that was being told to me on the chin, really just, I don't want to say like giving them the bird, but more so like showing them, no, I can do this and I did do this. Now watch where I go and watch me continue to prove you wrong.
And what was what were how are those doubts gone by the time your debut went? What was that moment where he's like, you know what, I'm leaving it all behind, I have nothing to lose, let's just do this debut?
Uh, I think it was when I dropped out of college, actually.
Okay.
Because like Rudy boy, he pulled me aside and he was all like, hey, your debut's coming up, really start getting ready, like you've really been picking it up. Because I debuted within 3 months of training, and that doesn't really happen a lot from what I hear. And so whenever he told me that, I was like, dang, like 3 months of training and he thinks I'm ready for my debut. That's kind of crazy. I think I got something going on here. And so after a very long talk with some of my peers, with some of my closest friends, I decided to make the tough decision to drop out of college to focus on wrestling. And I
Mm.
remember walking out of film school with my college resignation form, which I still have in my box of memories. I remember
It's a poster somewhere.
it'll get framed one day. It'll get framed one day. But I remember walking out with that paper, like, all right, like you're all in now, man. Really, let's put my foot on that pedal and now let up. And here we are.
Because now you're in the business now for 5 years. 5 years. I think that was, I'm trying to figure out the numbering.
Are we
But
counting 20?
as the -1, let's just do that. But also, like, as the journey that you're going through, what were some lessons that you've learned in every corner that you take in your journey?
Not everybody's meant to be your friend.
Mm.
This is it's a very cold world, but it's also a very cold business. Obviously, as we saw, I know I just referenced 2020, but as we saw the Me Too movement come out, and then from there, somehow still people are getting revealed to be who they really are. Really just being careful about who you let in your circle, being careful about who you let in on your life, on your business, what you have going on, because it really can't just turn on you like that. If there's anything I could really like drive home, it's just you want to surround yourself with the right people, because if you don't surround yourself with the right people, you eventually become something that infects instead of affects. You know what I mean?
And when you had those types of friendships that you do have these connections with, what did you notice when you are having these connections? What was that like, saying, like, hey, I found that person who I'm connecting with, whether it's in the business or in life in general? That makes sense.
I don't know. What do you mean?
So, because one thing that I'm often noticing with connections in the business is building that trust.
Yeah.
And when you have that person, when you have that rapport of building that trust that you see a good connection with,
Oh,
when you have those types of connections,
yeah.
like, well, that must have that must be nice to see someone authentic and genuine, to have those connections that build trust over time.
Yeah.
That was where I'm asking.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, definitely. I think that myself and my peers, we're in a very interesting time where a lot of attitudes are changing, in the sense of now, yes, we're in competition with one another, but also we're supportive of one another. It's about like I'm trying to get here, and so are you. Let's push each other to eventually get to where we both want to go eventually. Like I'm rooting for you. Like even though I'm finding my own success, I'm fine. I'm rooting for your success, or like I hope my homies make it, even if it's before me. So I definitely think I'm very fortunate right now to be around a lot of people that are like that, and some of these people date back to like 2021. I think one of the best examples I can give is Daniel Ryan. I've known him since 2021. I remember Rodney Mack was doing a seminar at his school, and as one of Rodney's students, I went to go, and I had Danny's practice match before he even debuted, I believe. And from there, just over the years, over time, we just continued to both not only grow as men, but grow into the performers that we are in this business today. and he's definitely somebody that like I got strong connection with. So definitely just recognizing that is just more so just it's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's something I can't really describe and I can't really encapsulate in words. It's just a feeling that like you know what I mean?
Yeah, because like there's a sense of respect for each other,
For sure.
and everyone is, and as that saying goes, rising tides sink. Rising tides, raises all ships. I said sinks. Wow, that was a very bad Schadenfreude. Anyways,
Hey, effort.
it's that time of the day. But to have the respect of to have that respect, with your peers, that's probably like one of the most biggest tenets in the business is respect given is respect earned in this day and age too.
1000%. 1000%.
Yeah. And as you got along through this journey, and because this is where I finally got to see you. First off, well, we'll do Baracho because I saw that with Apocalypto, and being part of. I know you had a match before that. What was it like to have a wrestling promotion, particularly one of the bigger ones here in Austin with Baracho?
How was it like to work for them? It was great, man. It was fun. Bradley himself just a genuine blessing to life itself. I love Bradley. It's really promotions like that, and I think Bradley does a really great job as well as bringing talent from all over together in one building. Because there's certain markets around that work with that certain particular market, but Bradley does a great job at bringing like guys from San Antonio. Because I was still in San Antonio when he was starting to book me
Mm.
guys from Dallas, bringing them up to, Austin and really showing like the Austin crowd, like, hey, like this is what we can do. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of fun. And like I said before as well, it's an atonement to the hard work that I did prior to getting that booking with Bradley and that continuing partnership.
Because it's interesting because Austin has its own flavor, and we're gonna head down south to Texas Wrestling Cartel. What was it like to work? What was it like to work down there? And do you remember your debut there?
I do. Yes, I do. Working for Texas Wrestling Cartel I cannot encapsulate it in words, man. I couldn't believe it when I got the DM from the Instagram page. I checked to make sure like it wasn't like a scamming
Is
bot.
it spam?
I was like, there's no way they're hitting me up. Because I remember when I first saw their debut show, I was like, holy crap, that's huge. And it just kept like getting bigger and bigger, the names, the matches. And so I remember when they first hit me up, I was just blown away. But my debut for them, so I did a pop-up in downtown Corpus for the art walk, and I wrestled now Vin Parker, but back then Slim Seven,
Okay.
and it was so much fun. It was a lot of fun downtown Corpus, and then after that they brought me into the ballroom where I wrestled Ricky Ramirez. And so that was just, and then our continuous partnership, because it was crazy. Both Jeff and Haley, they both told me that they discovered me through Logo, actually. And yeah, it
Oh,
was my match against Eddie Martinez in January of 2023, because the Contender Series?
yes, I do.
So Jaime did a Loco Contender Series, and he put me on there against Eddie Martinez. And Haley and Jeff said that that's the first time they ever seen me. That's the first time they ever watched me. And from there, they just kept watching me. They just kept their eye on me, kept looking, kept checking out at the stuff I'm doing. And then eventually, when the time is right, all right, let's bring him in. Hearing that just completely blew me away because it really goes to show you you don't know who's watching you.
Mm.
You don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's got their eye on you. So if there's any motivation to really like go out there and always put on the best performance you can put on, always put on the best product you can put on, it's that. So continuously working for Texas Wrestling Cartel ever since then has just been an absolute blessing. I love the Trivinos. I love Corpus, and it's such a great time over there. Always a great time over there.
Because I was there for the first one. I think you were there facing. Was it JP Harlow? Who was in Mesquite? Oh man, when was that? that was 2 months ago, but I'll edit that out. I'll edit that out.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
Anyways,
You're
anyway,
good.
I'm trying to like get all my notes together.
For
This is what happens when
sure.
you're on the fly. So
Well, I mean,
actually,
I did work JP, if that helps. I did work
okay.
JP. Yeah.
So no, I'll do it this way because one match that kind of caught my attention too. It's probably an interesting person that you faced was excuse me, Aaron Mercer. That one was probably the more interesting match because that looked like hell. It was a hard hitting match between you two guys, and I had an interview with him at the day of the show. And one thing that he answered when he was facing you is show me.
Yeah.
How did you show Aaron during that match at Mesquite during that time?
Yeah. So whatever he gave me, I did everything I could just to give it back because I felt like as we were going into that match, me and Aaron, we didn't really know each other all that well. And for some reason, he became BFFs with Brick Savage, and Brick gave him the warnings like, "Hey, like Pac, that's legit." Because I beat Brick earlier in the year, and ever since then, me and Brick, we've been going at it. But he tried to tell Aaron like, "Hey, just so you know, don't look down on Pac because he will give it to you." And throughout the match, I kept hearing Aaron say, "Show me what Brick sees in you. Show me who you are." And so, like, I was just thinking to myself, is this guy, like, thinking I'm some kind of pushover? Like, does he think, like, I'm not one to fully be threatened by? So that's why, rules out the window on top of what happened at the show before that, where they put me and JP through tables and just annihilated us. It's like all rules out the window. I'm trying to beat your ass. You know what I mean? You're gonna wherever you go from here, you're gonna remember the night you wrestled Pac Ortega in Corpus Christi.
Did you think that you showed Aaron what you're made of during that match?
I believe so. I believe so.
Okay. And now and we're going through this journey and going through these different cities, Austin, San Antonio, what was and Corpus. Like what was the furthest that you've done
The
for
furthest,
booking?
the furthest I've traveled for booking was California. Actually,
Okay.
I wrestled for a promotion called Desert Pro Wrestling over there in I forgot the name of the city. Please forgive me, but it was in California.
Redacted.
Something like that. But yeah, no, like if we're talking like in general, California, I've also done some out of state bookings in Mississippi as well as Arkansas, and actually in December I'm going to Louisiana. So I've traveled a little bit, but like if you're talking like Texas, I think the furthest I've traveled has got to be Levelland, Texas. I almost said Dallas, but Levelland, Texas, over on the west side. Yeah, back in 2019, it was 8 hours there and 8 hours back. And brother, like 2.5 of those hours was just straight road, nothing else. And it was one of the most grueling drives I ever had to do.
Cause like, and I'm curious because California being the exception, of course you're gonna have to fly there, but the drive itself
Well, I
and
actually drove to California.
oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay, awesome. So I always think like he's probably gonna fly by, but I digress. But to have this, how is the drive such an important part in your wrestling career?
I always tell people that like the drives is what makes the brotherhood. You know what I mean? Like the reason why we are close, like some of us are as close with each other as we are, is because we spend hours and hours and hours on the road together. Man, in those hours, some pretty deep stuff's gonna hit. You're gonna get to know each other pretty well. So, it's really stuff like that. And like I know a great example of it is this guy named Alex Arsenal. He's also based out of San Antonio. So whenever I was living there, we both got booked on the promotion up in Mississippi as well as Arkansas. And the amount of car rides that we've had, and that's because of that. That guy's like genuinely one of my best friends, not only in wrestling but in life. So that just carried on over, and that's what's really the drive is all about. Really just making those memories, making those friendships, solidifying those friendships, and just being able to do that, being able to make those drives for your dream that you want, which is wrestling.
Because like you get to know each other during those drives and understanding why they want to be in the business, what motivates them to
Yeah.
be in the business.
Oh man, everyone's got a different story. Everyone's got a different story. I love hearing how people got into this business.
Because it's like every road is different, but the destination is still the same, and to
Exactly, one thousand
go through
percent.
that go through that journey. And
Mhm.
because you mentioned it earlier, because you lived in San Antonio, now you're in Houston working with New Texas.
Yeah.
What was that relationship like now that you're moving somewhere in San Antonio? Now you're 3.5 hours. Yes, let's do 3.5 hours in
Let's
New
say that.
Texas.
Let's
And
say that. Let's say that.
let's say that. So like, what was it like to have to working with Kiefer and with Bulldog, um, when you're starting to be in New Texas?
This partnership actually happened in 2022 when Kiefer kicked off the Texas Wrestling Contender Series. I mean, yeah, the Texas Contender Series. There you go.
Okay.
Because I was on the first installment of that. And from there, JJ Blake, he pulled me aside and the way he critiqued my match, I had never had a match critiqued like this. And I mean that in a good way because just the little small details he pointed out more than once. I was like, how did you think of that? Like, how did you even, how did you even
He's
see
seeing
that?
something that you don't see. That's what it means.
Oh, it's crazy. And so that's whenever I was like, these guys, this might be a pretty good group to like be around. And so one day I went to go training with them and like pre Dustin Win, pre Dream Team, like before they all debuted, I went to go train with all of them. And it was a really good environment, really great atmosphere. Again, JJ just being so good at coaching. I can't put that over enough, just how great of a coach JJ Blake actually is. And from there, they just continued bringing me on to Contender Series, continued giving me very good constructive criticism because I tell people all the time, there's a difference in criticism where it's critical and then productive. And JJ does a great job at giving you such productive and constructive criticism. So, then last year, I want to say, I kind of, I don't want to say I was like dead in the water, but, actually not last year, earlier in the year, my bad. I talked to JJ. I was like, hey, what if I like moved over there? Then he was like, dude, I've been wanting you to move over here. Like
Uh,
we want you closer to us so we can work with you, really get our hands on you and help you develop you and get you to where you want to be. And so after that conversation, I thought long and hard about it. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go. So it's been great. I'm having the time of my life right now. New Texas Pro itself is also a promotion I've wanted on since I debuted and I first saw them. So the continuous trust that Kiefer has to put me on a platform that he's created and for it to get to the size that it's at right now and trust me to put on a good product means the world to me. And then having a coach like JJ Blake just always making sure I'm on my shit and always making sure that I'm the best that I can.
how has gratitude played such a huge part in your career?
I have a really hard time expressing gratitude.
No, because you've shared it, and you had this attitude of gratefulness, because like, and every wrestler will say that, but for you, like, how has gratitude kind of been a key aspect in your career?
I've just, we all go through our struggles for this business. To get to where we're at, it's not rainbows and unicorns and everything. And this is coming from somebody that has been evicted, that has had his car repoed, that was renting a room, a house owned by people I didn't even know, all because I'm trying to give my all to this business. And for a while, I keep, I kept hitting these roadblocks. I kept hitting these personal issues in my life where like I just wanted to say like, fuck all of this. I need to get my shit together. But I kept going. I kept pushing through it. I kept hoping, praying, and believing this is all going to pay off one day. And to be in the position that I'm in now, going from I now know how to cook and meal prep, I know understand my nutrition, from not knowing if I even have enough money for 3 meals in one day, finding out how to stretch $20 till next payday,
Mm.
I'm going from all that to the position I'm in now. Just nothing but gratefulness because to live the life that I now live as well, like not just in my career, but in my personal life, I'm blessed, going from the gutter, from the down barrel of the down barrel to being where I'm at now. Just, I can't be more grateful enough. I can't be more grateful enough. So that's where the attitude comes from.
And you see your work progress over time in your career. And I'm going to ask this too, like, and you've trained with a lot of the younger guys over in New Texas. What was that dynamic like from someone who's been trained and doing all the work that you're doing to pass that along to the younger guys? What was that dynamic like, handing out that advice to them?
Um, I think what's really great about them is that we all help each other, like they've taught me some things, yeah,
Okay.
because like what's really great about those guys in particular is that they all have a mindset of we're gonna go and we're gonna go together. I've like one thing that's very unfortunate about my early upbringing was that I was taught to be extremely selfish. I was taught it's me versus the world. You can't trust anybody. Fuck these guys, fuck those guys. You need to be focusing on yourself. And as kind of like somewhat true it is that you got to be selfish sometimes, it's so refreshing being around guys that are so selfless, that are so hey, we're like, how's that saying go? I forgot how it went. Like, oh yeah, if you want to go far, go together, but if you want to go fast, go alone. So it's have guys that have that kind of mindset around me. It's so refreshing. So when I say they taught me things, more so like they taught me just how to be a better human being, because even though I got trained by like some pretty like reputable names, I'm not one that's gonna run a seminar before a show. That's not me. I'm far from that. And to have just a group of guys that allowed myself to be humbled, it's a very refreshing feeling. A very refreshing feeling. Because I was kind of a dickhead for a while. I'm not gonna lie to you, because being in the environment that I used to be in, it was like promoted that like we're high and mighty, that I'm high and mighty, I'm above everybody else. And then when I actually got into the real world of professional wrestling, in Texas professional wrestling, I learned that is not true. That is not true at all. And so just to be able to see that, it's a very refreshing feeling, and it's again been life altering.
Yeah. And I'm going to close out with this question. And if you were in the same room as an adolescent you, what would you like to talk to him about?
So if I was standing across 2021 Pac,
Okay.
alcohol replacing his blood vessels, just received his eviction notice, and just watched his car get repoed from the Planet Fitness parking lot, I
Mm.
would tell him, you don't even understand what's on the other side of all of this. It's a destination where the grass truly is greener on the other side. Stop listening to toxic advice. Stop surrounding yourself with people that are dragging you down. Stop surrounding yourself with people that would not bring your name up in a room filled with opportunity. Pick yourself up, go out there and take a chance on yourself. Pick yourself up and understand that everything is going to be okay. That's all you can do. Cry it out, let it out, throw that tequila bottle out the fucking door, and you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. And it's like at that moment, like, like the world came crashing at that moment. And then there you are. And it's not an easy road. It's not a bumpy road. And it's one of those things where you're at right now, it's way better than when that young version of Pac kind of came around.
Oh, 1000%, man. I actually have So I know we just talked about frames earlier. I actually have my eviction notice. I have that framed next to.
Wow.
I have it framed next to this graphic I got made, where on the graphic it talked about the bookings I have coming up for the next 2 months, and on that graphic was all the companies I said I wanted to work for. Companies like New Texas, Inspire, Texas Wrestling Cartel, RCW. I have a graphic made where like it was telling me, because you know how people promote their dates and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So that's the kind of graphic I got made, and around that time period was when all those promotions had booked me. So I got those two placed together, framed up for a reason to remind myself it got.
Right. And I have nothing left to give. You have the floor. And where can we find you?
Really, man, all of my social media is the exact same. This Pac Ortega Pro. That's all you got to do. As soon as you hear Pac Ortega, the minute you look up Pac Ortega, it's gonna pop up everywhere. Whether it's Instagram, Twitter, or now X, TikTok. I'm doing a lot of TikToks. I vlog on there as well. And then YouTube as well. Just Pac Ortega.
Okay, awesome. And we'll end our conversation here with Pac Ortega. Thank you so much for having you on.
No, thank you so much. I'm a huge fan of the show. I've watched all my
Thank
friends
you.
on it, so thank you for having me.
All right, awesome. And we'll end this episode and we will be on to the next one. Bye.
Bye.